today, but some board members there for a while were deliberately not listening at all. Tempers flared this afternoon as the Board of Commerce and Industry approved a $1.2 million tax break for the Rollins environmental waste recycling plant on Scenic Highway. A group of state board members walked out in the middle of the debate. More than 100 people were on hand, and so was WAFB's Kelly Hennessy, who has more in this report.
It was a hot debate as State Representative Kip Holden went head-to-head with Kevin Riley of the Commerce and Industry Board.
Show me the same courtesy. He asked me a question. Well, I'm going to answer it, Kevin. Hurry up. Just cut some slack.
Holden says that only those living near Rollins understands what he calls wrongdoings of the company. But Riley argues that Rollins isn't doing anything wrong.
Plus the fact that I might add that they're taking all of our PCBs, which is the really hazardous stuff, and I'm arranging for the disposal of that over in Texas.
I'm telling you that it's inaccurate. And then if you don't believe it's inaccurate, postpone it till the next time and let's get the truth known. I know you're not, because I know the deal has been cut.
Board member Evan Tressman argued that it's not the board's job to decide if any wrongdoing is taking place in Rollins waste disposal. He said Rollins met qualifications for exemption and should be granted one. That made people angry.
Ma'am. Sir, I have come off my job. I live there. I get awakened at night because of fumes. It is my right to speak, and by God, I'm going to speak.
Ma'am, let's go. Ma'am.
The board then did something out of the ordinary, calling a 5-minute recess and refusing to listen. All but a handful of the board members walked out, but the concerned residents finished their say.
Thank you very much, you very inconsiderate people.
5 minutes later, the board resumed, listening to Rollins' side.
Rollins has been in compliance with every environmental law and regulation in this state and has not had a minor, not none, not a serious, it has had no infractions for almost 3 years.
After much debate and a second motion to deny the exemption, finally by an 8-4 vote, the board approved Rollins' tax exemption, leaving Rollins very happy.
We consider it very significant for our industry.
And the neighbors unhappy.
It made me very, very angry. It points out to me that these people are not sincere about what they're doing. They certainly are not interested in the citizens of the state of Louisiana.
Kelly Hennessy, WAFB News.
Also at that meeting, the Exxon Corporation was the second application on the board's agenda, seeking $5 million in tax breaks. The board approved Exxon's exemption without the controversy that you saw Rollins experience.
Companies with questionable backgrounds deserve tax breaks. That's the issue that came to a head this afternoon, and boy, did it come to a head. It all happened at the Commerce and Industry Board meeting, where Rollins Environmental Services was granted more than $6 million in tax breaks. Today's hearing turned ugly when the chairman abruptly shut down the meeting.
Ma'am, you should have told Representative... Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
It is a waste management firm.
You should have told Representative Holden not to use your allotted time. Could I have someone from Rollins, please?
We provide incentives that attract other waste management companies. We do not need additional waste management companies in Louisiana.
Wow. The Commerce Board also granted Exxon over $30 million in tax breaks. Should a business with a questionable safety record get a multi-million-dollar tax break?
Well, today a state agency said yes. And as Marvin McGraw tells us, they had to face the wrath of some local residents.
Some residents in North Baton Rouge have long argued that industries with questionable environmental records don't deserve tax breaks.
No tax break for Rollins.
Today, they brought those concerns to the Board of Commerce and Industry to protest a multi-million-dollar tax break for Rollins Environmental Services.
You have a fiduciary duty to guard the taxpayers' dollars, not to give them away unabatedly.
The hearing quickly turned ugly, though, when the committee chairman abruptly called a recess before many people on hand had a chance to speak.
Ma'am, you should have told Representative... Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
It is a waste management firm.
You should have told Representative Holden not to use your allotted time. Could I have someone from Rollins, please?
We provide incentives that attract other waste management companies. We do not need additional waste management companies in Louisiana.
After a 5-minute recess in which opponents to the tax break continued to speak to mostly empty chairs, the board reconvened, only to grant Rollins a $6 million tax break.
If not these people to dispose of our waste, who will?
A company that disposes of toxic waste from around the nation, Rollins has long been accused by local residents of polluting their community and ruining their health. While a company spokesman admits to past problems, he says they've since cleaned up their act.
There was one single thing that came out that's important. I think we've finally at least been recognized that we do provide value to the state.
But opponents charge otherwise and say today's ruling sends out a dangerous message that in Louisiana, pollution pays. I'm Arvin McGraw, Channel 2 Eyewitness News Night Desk.
Exxon also received more than $400,000 in tax breaks in spite of the protest over recent accidents at the refinery and chemical plant.
In the news this morning, a hazardous waste disposal firm was granted a $1.2 million property tax break yesterday by a state board that rejected the arguments of angry residents. The residents who live on the outskirts of Baton Rouge near the Rollins Environmental Services plant complained that the company is a pollution hazard and has no right to an exemption from parish property taxes. They noted that the tax exemption law was created for manufacturing plants and expansions at such plants. Rollins is expanding its facility that treats hazardous waste.